Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines. Gold Rstoration Act. We covered it this summer. It's being introduced to the House of Representatives, ladies and gentlemen. Come on in. We got this too. SEC versus Ripple. It's the final submission. The verdict is on the horizon, ladies and gentlemen. We got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on... Oh, wait a second here. You can't see me here. Let me go here. You know what? There you go. How about it? Good morning. Happy Saturday morning. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, ladies and gentlemen. That's where we're at this morning here. And it is a $894 billion market cap for crypto. Good morning. $1 over 17,000 for Bitcoin. Right now, 1,200 plus for Ethereum. Tether's market cap is 65 billion. We're going to keep watching it now. And 39 cents for XRP. We're off by 3.5% on the 7-day. We will keep an eye on it. Couple quick announcements, ladies and gentlemen, letting you know, link to if you're a accredited investor, they've got new listings, Epic Games, Unstoppable Domains. Come on in. Alchemy, Rippling, by the way. I tell you, this is pretty amazing stuff. Again, you got to be accredited, but they've lowered the offering from a $10,000 minimum to $5,000 right now. And it is this weekend on all companies on the platform. Listen, hold on. Let me quiet down a little bit. I think Mrs. Backup's in the other room, and I'm getting some more private equity, and I don't really want her to hear, so don't say nothing. It's just between us, right? Boy, am I glad she doesn't watch my videos. All right, then one more announcement I want to make to you too. We're going to cover this. The Gold Rstoration Act is being introduced back at the House, and I think gold's going to go up a lot myself personally. It's not financial advice. I love gold. I love Glint. I was a customer first, and they are a sponsor. But I tell you something, I love the accessibility that I have to my physically allocated gold. This is not paper gold. Check it out. Click the links for both of those underneath of the description. You will not be sorry that you did. That's for sure. Right here, Bill Huizenga says the SEC under Gary Gensler has pursued an agenda that is often outside the authority that Congress has granted the SEC. Officials at the SEC should be prepared to appear before the Financial Committee because the Republican majority will conduct oversight and require accountability. Now, this was off of Eleanor Terrett's tweet. Shout out to Eleanor. New scoop from her. It says Republican lawmakers are wasting no time making good on their promise to make life miserable for Wall Street's top cop, Gary Gensler. We shall see. We shall see. A lot of this stuff ends up being a bunch of political posturing and nothing ever comes of it. So we'll see. And the reason I say that is because I'm not handing out the anointing oils here to anybody until you actually do something. So we'll see. Right? Because this is the kind of stuff that's been going on. We know SEC was meeting with FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried. And guess who else was? The CFTC met with Sam Bankman-Fried 10 times before the crypto exchange collapsed, and neither the SEC or the CFTC caught this debacle and what was going on. And honestly, if we're just being straight here, it appears from the retro, from what we're learning from the gentleman who's overseeing the bankruptcy for FTX, it would have been obvious. Ray Charles could have seen what was going on if he wanted to. So the CFTC, the SEC, they really have a lot of splaining to do. How'd you miss that in your 10 different meetings? And the systemic fallout from all of this? Well, it's Genesis now. And crypto broker Genesis potential bankruptcy owes the crypto exchange Gemini $900 million. Thanks, SEC. Thanks, CFTC, for not doing your job. Or maybe you did. Oh, brother. Well, I'll tell you what, this is Alex Mooney. We covered this, I believe, last summer when it was introduced, but there was no definitive information on the bill itself. But this is the announcement being addressed here by Representative Alex Mooney at the House. On the Gold Standard Restoration Act, his bill would return the U.S. to a gold standard, protect Washington's irresponsible spending habits, and the creation of money out of thin air. I like it.
Madam Speaker, the United States is facing an inflation and debt crisis not seen in over 40 years. West Virginians have seen the value of their savings erode before their very eyes because of reckless tax and spend policies. We know who's responsible for the current inflation crisis, but what in our country's history has allowed us to get to this point? The answer can actually be traced back to 1971, when President Nixon took the United States off the gold standard. The gold standard means tying the dollar directly to the value of gold. Under the gold standard, any American would be able to trade their dollars for a fixed amount of gold. By linking the dollar to the value of gold, the money supply could only be increased if the supply of gold increases. This connection protects the purchasing power of your dollars. That is why I introduced legislation to return the United States to the gold standards. Had we been on the gold standard or some other fixed standard, we'd not be in the inflation crisis we're in today. I look forward to working with the Republican majority to make sure this issue gets attention. Thank you.
Here's what I'll say to that. Excuse me for the quick mute there. Something I've come to learn here is that, I love the idea of returning back to a gold standard. You know what else would be great to introduce with going back to a gold standard? A wholesale CBDC and a retail CBDC, digital dollar. And I want them to be separate. But there's another equation to this, and we're going to get into this much deeper in another video, probably early next week. But the reality here for me is that there's a lot of debt, and simply telling the Fed that you're going back to a gold standard isn't going to really solve the problem, right? Because the truth is you still have all this insurmountable debt. You think the Fed likes being told that going back on a gold standard? It's like sending them a pair of handcuffs. No, I don't think that alone will do it. But you know what? There's a lot to talk about there, but we got a lot more to talk about today because let's stay on topic here. The SEC has filed its redacted reply to Ripple's opposition in the SEC's motion for summary judgment. Again, shout out to Jim. He does so much for all of us, as so many other legal analysts do. I'm going to grab 3 of these highlights here. One starts with Sherry and Press. Shout out to her for this. She says here, or shares here, given this economic reality, defendants' comparison 4/1937 of XRP to items on a shopping list do not help them. The law recognizes the ordinary assets can be offered and sold as securities when accompanied by statements such as those by defendants, creating a reasonable expectation of profits from the efforts of others. Unlike ordinary assets such as groceries, XRP is nothing but computer code represented on an electronic ledger. It has no historical existence and no intrinsic value absent a market for its transfer. When investors paid money to receive XRP, they were purchasing the value of XRP embodies these investors' objectives expected others could, and it goes on, so on. But you know what? She says, well, no dip that it doesn't have historical existence. Therefore, it cannot be classified as an ordinary asset. Guess what? BTC is also computer code. It's an excellent point that Sherry's making there. Patrick Riley right here from Real Reaper, the CEO. Shout out to you, Patrick. If you look closely at footnote 43, you'll see that the SEC has effectively said that the outcome of the SEC versus Ripple Labs case has no relationship to XRP Ledger tokens, although we still support Ripple and know that the case will in fact affect us. This is a small victory for the XRP Ledger. And I agree with him. Let's take a look at this very quickly here. Other far-fetched arguments well beyond the scope of this case include the SEC has advanced a years-long position that the software code that comprises the XRP Ledger is itself a security or about non-XRP tokens issued on that ledger. I love that little footnote right there. Then there was one more thing I wanted to show you here real quickly. Here is the buffoons over at the SEC are making stuff up. Oh, it is not surprising. We've watched almost 2 years of it here. Defendants accuse the SEC of improperly defining the enterprise by referring to XRP ecosystem, a word they claim at section 20, as amorphous. But ecosystem is a common term used by the crypto asset industry to refer to a crypto venture's promised package of goods and services, as defendants' own marketing in the amici's briefing reflects. So, obviously the SEC continues to show the, the inconsistency in their argument and trying to go, I think it was called an unfaithful allegiance to the law, if I remember correctly. This here is a redacted portion that actually touches on the emails, but we don't get to see the direct reference. I want to start right here. It says here, the case law rejects that theory. It says here, ownership of the same types of coins necessarily link their fortunes together for purposes of strict vertical commonality. It says the SEC itself knows this theory is legally irrelevant. And this is actually, because we have both, by the way, we have both filings, by the way, between Ripple and the SEC, right? And then it shows this, which we don't get to see. But as we understand it, if the judge rules and uses whatever's redacted here as a part of her ruling, that will become judicial, whatever the term is, and it will be made public. So we'll see if things like that are unveiled to us in the future going forward. Okay, now here we have, this is, I believe, is this... Yeah, this is defendant's reply in this. So this is Ripple itself, right? So, okay. And then I want to go on to this because this is what you want to have right here. Obviously, the arguments are pretty standard. We know what the arguments are. Oh, another thing I wanted to highlight very quickly here. And I did want to highlight this. I said, if I'm wrong, I'll make the video. Well, inside of this, if you go in, and I've not read every single page, but I've read the majority of this. But if you go into the cases that are represented in here, they are no longer citing Ernst versus Young, Reeves and Young, right? So the Reeves test is not a part of this filing, okay? I have had meaningful conversations with 3 different lawyers, and 2 of which are actually friends of the court in the amicus brief filings. And they told me that they think it was a good argument and that the SEC should have gone with when something is a note argument. It would have been a better, stronger argument, they have said. However, regardless of that fact, 2 things are left here. One, they are not referencing it in this final filing, which says it is not a factor to them anymore. And number 2, what I was told by the legal analyst, for the judge to really, and I don't understand the legal proceedings, but this is what they explained to me. For the judge to really file or make a ruling, for using Reeves versus Young or the Reeves test in that filing would be she would have to do sua sponte, I believe is how you say it, right? So she would have to actually formulate her own judgment out of the 2 sides, the arguments from both sides at this point. So it's very, 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 very small percentage that a note would be a part of the final decision making is what they're saying to me. So look. What is normal? I don't know. But you know what? I said if I'm wrong, I'll make the video. I don't know that I'm wrong yet, but it looks like we're probably going to be. So if there's a note ruling, it would have to happen outside of this case once it's over. And that may benefit us too. So full disclosure, that's where we are there. Now let's get to Stuart Young. Stuart Alderati, who says here basically that this is our final submission. Where we ask the court to grant judgment in our favor. After 2 long years, Ripple is proud of the defense we've mounted on behalf of the entire crypto industry. We have always played it straight with the court. Can't say the same for our adversary. That is for damn sure. And if you go here, John Deaton sums it up, boy. He says, let me translate what Ripple's general counsel, which is Stuart Alderati, is tactfully saying here. In the 2 years that Ripple has defended itself versus the SEC massive overreach, with so much on the line, the Ripple team maintained a faithful allegiance to the law, something the judge herself said the SEC lacked. Wow. boy, have we really witnessed something here. And then I want to show you this because we may witness something if we get this ruling in a favorable way. Shout out to Eggrag Crypto and all he does and all the other TA people out here. Falling wedge, that's what this is. We're looking at a falling wedge right here, and we saw that breakout right here. You can see where it goes, right? Looking at the falling wedge right here, using the same math, it says $1.41 is what it's showing there. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it is something we want to watch. Why do we want to watch it? Because he says falling wedges, the failure rate for an upwards breakout is only 8 to 11%. So there's a huge leading indicator on the chart suggesting that there will be a breakout of some kind. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to guarantee it goes to $1.40. What it's saying is that there's a larger chance that it will break out of that wedge, but how far it will go is undetermined. But there's also the 8 to 11% chance that it doesn't do it at all, right? So, but I like knowing this. I think we all should know this. We want to get as much information as we possibly can. And that's how I hope we've done that today. Hit that like and subscribe, leave a comment below. By the way, if you haven't, if you're thinking about joining the Digital Perspectives Mastermind group, don't mess around. People are joining every day. It is a wonderful group of people. It is a very, very affordable investment. Invest in yourself. This is the time when wealth is made, and that's exactly what we're all doing together in that group. I'll catch all of you on the next one.